Good morning, John.
Good morning. I know you're being 100% focused on this week. Do you have an appreciation of the opportunity that's ahead in achieving your goal of winning a division title this week and being the first coach since Marv Levy and the first team to do so since '95?
Yeah, I respect and appreciate where you're coming from. Just focused on a good opponent in the Denver Broncos, and they got good players, good coaches. Pat Shurmur, Mike Munchak, Vic Fangio do a great job, and they had a big win against Carolina last week. So that's really where my and our team's focus needs to be.
Fair enough. Moving to the defense, Leslie on Monday, I think it was, talked about needing patience because of the weird off season and the shortened training camp to see that unit come to its or start building towards its potential. How important was that to realize and not push panic buttons after 4 and 5 games, and maybe what do you see from the unit as it's playing right now?
Yeah, I think we're still a work in progress, John. You see it, and there's some good moments, and there's some things we got to continue to get corrected and grow with. I do think that patience was important to Leslie's point, as you mentioned, because of the short run up and the new pieces that were in our locker room. So whether it be via free agency or the draft, we had to get to know those guys. They had to get to know us, and I think they've collectively done a really good job of growing.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. It's Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News. Okay, John asked my first question. My second one is very simply, Matt Milano had a really nice sack last week, with his hand in the dirt. We haven't seen that too much, but just what about Matt's skill set helps him be an effective pass rusher?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Matt is he spends a lot of time in the facility. He works at his craft. He studies film. He's a pro's pro in that regard. Takes care of his body. He's one of the first in, one of the last to leave, and sometimes people don't see that, but that's I think a big part of why he's been able to do what he's been able to do.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good morning, Sean. I got a question for you about your third down defense and how much it's improved really in the second half of the season. Could you maybe, without getting into too much specific, just why have you guys been so much better on third down lately?
Well, I think it's probably a variety of reasons, Sal. I think our rush is coming along. It's more coordinated, going back to the time on task with the guys, being around one another, playing together longer. I think our coverage has gotten better as well, just in terms of our concepts, our techniques, our communication. So I would say those just kind of off the top of my head.
And then turnovers also. I mean, you've had one in every game except one, I think, this year, 21 total, I believe. And I know you preach that. I mean, and there's some luck involved with that, but just could you kind of, again, reiterate just how vital it's going to be down the stretch for your defense to get turnovers and help the offense?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to do that, and we've got to take better care of the football on the other side as well. So we can't expect to turn a ball over like we have and win games, in particular over the last couple of games. So that's a area that we're working on, and we've got to continue to work on it because you can't go a week without talking about it. It's like fun. It's the same thing as fundamentals. You can't go a week without talking about fundamentals either.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Josh.
Jordan Poyer has more tackles than any safety in the NFL. What makes him so effective at bringing guys down near the line of scrimmage and even in the open field?
Yeah, I think, Bobby Babich and Jordan do a great job working together. They've worked together for a couple of years now, if not more, predating, their time together in Buffalo. And I think the other reason would be Jordan's extremely disciplined with his eyes and his feet, which is a big part of playing the safety position. And so his consistency is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, you hear a lot of guys when asked about Jordan talk about what you just said, his consistency, just day in and day out. Could you elaborate a little more on that? What you see in him in the practice field and maybe in the film room every single day?
Yeah, I mean, it just really he loves to grind. Just in terms of the process, he's a grinder, and I got a lot of respect for that.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Have a good day.
Sure, you too. Thanks, Josh.
Hey, Sean, good morning. This answer will probably be along the same lines of a lot of things you've already talked about this morning, but Vernon Butler seems like he's kind of jumped off the page a little bit to us as of lately, watching games. Can you just kind of talk about, his progression in this defense and why that might be, and maybe even going back to, why you thought he was such a fit for you guys after coaching him and seeing him in Carolina?
I think his play has gotten better through the year, Sal, and he's a player with ability, and always want to just keep growing and developing because he has the ability. Now it's getting the results week in and week out, and that's a mindset as much as anything. So I'm certainly encouraged by what he's been able to do over the last stretch of games.
And I know, we talk about how the defense has come together and played better, and I know you've recognized that. But Eric Washington is a guy you brought in this year, obviously. How much has he meant to that group overall, the defense and the defensive line, of course?
Yeah, he has a steadying, way about him in terms of the way he coaches. I've got a tremendous amount. I know Leslie does as well. Trust in Eric. I've worked with Eric for a number of years. Leslie, this is his first time working with Eric, but he makes very clear what the expectations are, and he's got a great teaching progression to get the player into position, and he's developed many players before now, so I think that speaks for itself, and I'm excited to see where we go up front moving forward.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Mike Catalana. I know you're not changing anything going west this week, but with Denver, it is a unique circumstance. And if I looked it up right, I think you were there once with Philly and once in Carolina. How do you keep the players focused in their right way when it can be a physical thing to play in that altitude, but still keeping the same mindset of going on the road, doing things the way you normally do?
Well, I think it starts just, by being aware of the situation. And for some guys, it matters to them, and to other guys, it really doesn't. So we have resources in our building that we make available to our players to help them with that. For the guys that it does matter to, and it's all about trying to facilitate an environment where the guys can be their best.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Chad Hull's group has really produced this year. When you brought him in, he was a younger coach, and you took a chance on him in promoting him to receivers coach. It seems like the guys really gravitate to him, like to play for him. What is it about him that's made him effective in this role, and how have you seen him grow? Because you have the kind of unusual experience of seeing him both as a player and now as a coach as well.
Yeah, there's being a player and being a coach are two different things. I know there's people would think there's a lot of similarities. They're actually almost on two opposite ends of the spectrum. Certainly, having the experience as a player can aid you as a coach, but other than that, they're really two different. Like I said, on two different ends of the spectrum. So I think the biggest thing for Chad is that he continues to grow. He's done a nice job working with these guys. He's got good people skills, and I'm very proud of how he's developed as a coach, and I know the players like playing for him. So when you look at what he's been able to do in a short amount of time, he's only been coaching for a couple of years now. So I'm excited about his future.
Was there something about him as a young guy that you said, hey, I think he's ready for this role? Because, sometimes maybe you want a guy who's been around the league a little longer as a coach, more veteran guy. You went a different route with a younger guy. What was it about him that identified that you thought he was ready for it?
Well, there's, I think work ethic and hunger are important qualities, and he was always a hungry player, when he played, and that same passion and that hunger and that burning desire. When we spoke about the job when we first got to Buffalo, I noticed was there, and so now it's what you do with the opportunity. And he's a young guy that's off to a good start to this point.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, we're going to transition into some questions from Denver media. We're going to start with Ryan here.
Hey, Sean, Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post. I have two questions for you. The first one is the old defensive coordinator in you. How much have you admired Vic Fangio's scheme and disguises and pressures through the years?
Yeah, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Vic. This is an industry. It's a funny industry where some people share and some people don't. And Vic was a guy that really helped me earlier on in my career, just by being open and willing to teach a young guy that was curious about his system and how he's had so much success over the years. You look wherever he's gone, he's improved defenses, and I have a lot of respect for that. In particular, Vic, with a guy that has that, but also really doesn't have an ego. So I appreciate that about him.
As a follow-up, he's shown a lot of support and patience for Drew Lock this year through some of his struggles. When Josh was going through his adversity the last 2 years, was there a model for you in your coaching career to say, hey, this is how I need to be patient, this is how I need to support a young quarterback?
Well, I was around it 2 other times before coming here as a head coach. So, and I was not in the head coach's seat, obviously, but being around Andy Reid and watching him develop young quarterbacks, and then being around Ron Rivera in Carolina, watching him develop Cam, and so not obviously in those deep into the weeds on those conversations, but just observing more than anything. That's the experience I got.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. The Broncos, this is Ben Swanson with DenverBroncos.com. The team has had a lot of injuries to its secondary recently. Looking at the Panthers game last week, how do you think that they have been able to kind of maybe account for those injuries and still be successful?
Yeah, that's why Vic is who he is, man. He does a great job. I know all their coaches do a great job as well. He's been with Coach Donatello a long time as well. And so, they're well coached, and they've got good players across the board and depth-wise. So I thought they played at a high level against Carolina, to your point.
And they have a good running back combination with Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay. I'm just wondering what you think of how they use them in tandem.
Yeah, I think they're one of the best combinations in the league. They really are. They're fast. They break tackles. So we'll have our hands full come Saturday.